Welcome, Jet fans. We have reached training camp day 6, and up to this point, there's still a lot to get to with all the progressions that we've had to this point. One of the biggest ones, and obviously one of the huge storylines until something finally changes, is the whereabouts of Hasaan Reddick. Up until this point, there's been some reports out there. An eventual target date, I think, was Monday. If he came in Monday, he would avoid a potential optional $300,000 fine that the Jets can add to already what is $50,000 per day and $250,000 workout bonus that he missed for missing the mandatory portion, or sorry, 100,000, I think it was, for missing the mandatory part of OTAs, similar like Aaron Rodgers missed. He's subject to fines in all these aspects. It doesn't seem to this point that a contract is anywhere close. I feel like if it was close, he'd at least be doing the hold in thing that a lot of these players are doing nowadays. But it's still a full on holdout, which means he's subject to all of these fines that can be assessed to him. It it kind of goes to notice that this is probably a situation that really could have been avoided. I know leading up to the trade, there's been reports that the Jets offered him a deal. He declined it. They made the trade anyway, with the assumption that something will get worked out, or there was, I guess, some sort of handshake agreement along the way that they can come to terms on something that would work for both sides. And unfortunately, we're here 6 days in a training camp, and Reddick's the only one to not report, and it's a little unfortunate. It seems like it'd be such an easy task here, guarantee a portion of his contract, maybe add a little bit of incentives. It seems to be that the thing that gets done, especially in the last year of a contract. Joe Douglas has done this 1,000 times, but by the accounts of just him not being here, it seems like he wants that long-term deal now. And the Jets have shown no interest at this point to do a long-term deal until they see him in the building, and rightfully so. I mean, everything he's accomplished has been fantastic, but the Jets haven't got their hands on him yet. Um, it makes a lot of sense for the Jets to want to at least see what he is in the system before giving him a massive extension when he is under contract for another season. This isn't like a free agent type of thing. He's still 1 year under contract, so he should be reporting and he should be playing or practicing. So, no end in sight. There's been reports out there. It seems like it should be easy. We're just not there yet, and until something changes, we're just gonna be playing this waiting game. I'm not sure when the next major deadline is. I'll have to look this up for our next episode. But there will be another phase here where additional fines can be subject to him if he misses additional time. Obviously, when you start getting to the regular season games, that's when things get a little crazy. Really hope it doesn't reach that point. Hopefully, something gets ironed out here within the next week, because obviously, he's a great player and all, but the more time he misses, there's going to be a longer acclimation period for the regular season. We're fortunate enough to start the season with a pretty light schedule after that 49ers game. There's a little bit of a 4 week lag where we don't play strong opponents, at least on paper. So as long as he's, you know, full steam ahead, ready for that week 6 game against Buffalo, that's the real target date you give. I mean, obviously, we want him full steam ahead from day one. But if there's a real kind of eye on when you would like for him to be acclimated and fully ready to go, that week 6 game seems to be the biggest game of the season, at least to start things off, after that Niners game, obviously. But nonetheless, we want them ready to go from the outset. This is a team with a lot of, momentum riding behind their sides. I mean, it's Aaron Rodgers back, obviously. This offense is a brand new identity, new offensive line, basically at every single spot. Um, Even the weapons on the outside are stronger. Brees Hall coming off his ACL after a full season of playing football. Now he's going to his second season, first real off season as an NFL player without having to worry about rehabbing or getting ready for the draft. So this is like a season where you really expect a lot of these players to take that next step. And it would be awesome to have a full set of players ready to roll for that first game of the year. But again, we're far away from having to worry about that point. But as these days progress and as there shows limited signs that progress is being made, these are going to be the concerns as we get move closer and closer towards the regular season. But as we stand right now, we're still in July, not even August yet, so not a lot of reason to worry just yet. Speaking of worries, last couple of days we've had a little bit of an issue, something that's kind of got you know has hit the light a little bit here. Something that I didn't really feel concerned about too much last season um, was Joe Tippman and his snap issues. This offense was historically bad last season. It was borderline atrocious. It was basically every word you can put behind what this was, just a terrible unit. With that being said, this offensive line was not great. Um, even the skill position players outside of Garrett Wilson and Brees Hall were not great. There was not much to be excited about. The quarterback play was absolutely disgusting. So there was enough issues going around that we didn't really have to worry about something as meager as snap issues. Um, I didn't notice this being a major issue in Tippman's game, but there's obviously been issues, and those issues seem to have found their way into training camp, to the point where it's it's just something you don't want for an offense that struggled the previous year. Um, Successful offenses are all about timing. It's all about rhythm, and one of the biggest factors in that timing is having the ability to snap the football and not have to worry about the quarterback having to leap, adjust, track the football in order to kind of work on that next portion of the play. If it's a pop pass, if it's a an RPO type of thing. It's all about getting that ball in your hands and really assessing the field really quick to make a quick read. And obviously, Aaron Rodgers is great at that. So the real way you're going to get the most potential out of him is to avoid any of these little weird nuance type of things that could kind of hinder his ability to kind of keep track of what he needs to on a football field. It's kind of crazy that we kind of go back to this point. I mean, I know a lot of us Jet fans have a lot of nightmares over the Spencer Long days. That there was, I forget who we were playing, but there was a game where it just seemed like every single snap he had was going over Darnold's head. It's just one of those things you don't think there to be an issue, like the equivalent of having a kicker that can't kick or a punter that can't punt. This is something that you really would like for them to kind of get ironed out. And we're so early again in the off season or in training camp in July. There's plenty of time to correct this, but it goes definitely worth noting at this point that this is an issue. And behind Tippmann, there's really no um, veteran center. There's no reliable guy behind him right now. I know Schweitzer is kind of penciled in as our center number two. If these snap issues persist, I mean, Aaron Rodgers is a veteran guy. He's going to want, kind of have this situation kind of fixed and figured out before the season starts. Hopefully, it's Tippmann because I still have a lot of faith in what he is as a player. He showed a lot of good signs last season. Very athletic center. Something that I was excited for when the Jets drafted him. I didn't think these snap issues would be something to worry about, but here we are, 2 consecutive days that he's just shown. I don't know. The ball just seems to be snapping high right now. I'm not sure if it's just a factor of first couple of days in pads, having Javon Kinlaw and Quinnen Williams breathing down your neck probably isn't the most comfortable situation in the world, but obviously that's not an excuse. The season's going to come in, and there's going to be bigger guys, stronger guys, and guys that are just going to want to whoop his ass to try and get to the quarterback. So there's no reason for this to be an issue going into the regular season. It's got to get corrected. I know they took him to the side yesterday, but that issue seems to have persisted into today. I don't know the proper way of fixing the snaps for a center in the NFL, but it's goes with anything. I guess it's repetitions. Just keep doing the work and eventually get it corrected. But again, I know the headline below says should we worry? It's not a worry here on July 30th, but if this is an issue going into preseason games um, and working their way through, the Jets obviously need to figure out a way to kind of work around this to some extent. Went through some of the bad here, so let's kind of shift focus towards the good, I do like to kind of end these episodes with a little bit of positivity. And the positivity I will say is we've got a lot of these young players that seem to have kind of caught their stride pretty quickly here. And outside of that draft with Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Brees Hall, and Jermaine Johnson, the Jets haven't had historically, drafts where it looks like players come in middle round guys that kind of hit their strides pretty quickly. And the Jets have actually found some, you know, what looks like to me some kind of little gems here in the middle rounds. Braylon Allen appears to be kind of locked into that running back two position here. I know there was earlier episodes where I kind of talked about the Jets needing to kind of take some action and get a second running back in here because you don't want to put all your faith in a couple of first and second year players, Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis, and Izzy Abanikanda, who's in my opinion at this point a little bit of a fear of losing his job or not making the team come opening day. So Allen just I think what we were really looking for going into this offseason, obviously we have our true purebred running back one in Brees Hall, who's kind of old fashioned bell cow type of player that'll probably get us somewhere between 15 to 2,000 yards this year, all purpose. At least that's my expectations of him. I mean, he put up 1,500 yards last year behind a horrible offensive line and terrible quarterback play. It's no reason to think he can't exceed those expectations or even meet them here in year two with a much better offensive line. And I mean, I don't even know if you could say much better in Aaron Rodgers. That'd be like an understatement of the century. You're going from Zach Wilson, um, Tim Boyle, and whoever the heck else we had playing quarterback last year to now Aaron Rodgers and Tyrod Taylor potentially at some point in time if needed. Um, but on top of that, you have now a running back behind Brees Hall that I feel really complements him um, really well because Brees Hall's he's a strong player. But his claim to fame is going to be his speed, his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield, and the ability just to kind of score a touchdown at the blink of an eye. Um, Braylon Allen comes in and he's he's fast, but he's also very powerful. You can see that in a few of the plays that have hit social media. He just hits that hole really hard, and he doesn't stop moving. His legs keep moving. I haven't seen much out of Isaiah Davis, but um, Allen has really kind of hit that stride as being our um, second second running back behind Brees Hall. And it's going to be interesting what the Jets can do with some of these formations because you know having a legitimate second running back allows you to put two running backs in the backfield, which is something that Aaron Rodgers is very accustomed to in Green Bay, having two running backs back there. Um, it's something that Jets can find themselves using here as we enter his Aaron Rodgers' first hopeful season as a starter. Having two running backs in the backfield, being able to kind of stretch out Brees Hall maybe into the slot position, move things around, really get defenses guessing. Um, and see what this offense can really do. Which leads me to my next topic here. Continuing with the young guys that have hit their strides. There's been a couple of you know different formations that the Jets have thrown out there. One that interests me a lot, which was Corley kind of moving around the formation and even lining up at running back. Which the reason I'm so kind of interested in this one is the obvious comparisons to Corley coming out of the draft were to a player that everyone's very familiar with. If you watch the receiver show, Debo Samuel. Debo coming out, second round pick type of player. Um, Corley has that similar frame. Might be a little shorter than Debo, at least from my eye. I don't have his measurables in front of me, but he looks a little bit shorter. But he has a similar build, like just like kind of that like very like sturdy frame in his like upper body. And I mean, he was labeled as the Yak King in college football last year, and that's basically the name of Debo Samuel's game. He gets the ball and then he just runs, and he's long gone. And he doesn't get hit the first. He doesn't get taken down the first tackle really at any point in time. Very very strong player, and in I want to say it was his second season. Um, it was the year after So a year before Mike McDaniel went over to Miami, the 49ers started using Debo Samuel in different formations, including lineup and running back. So it seems like, and I think we all kind of made that comparison already, but it seems like the Jets have also kind of identified that this player is someone that can be used as a weapon in that in that light. So if this is someone that you can move into the backfield and really kind of start confusing the other team, it just kind of just adds that additional wrinkle. I mean, defensive coordinators are going to have troubles game planning for the Jets when they have so many different players that can do so many different things. Garrett Wilson moving from the outside into the slot. Um, Jets are using a lot of motion nowadays. At least in the early part of training camp, that's a major difference from what they had last year. There was not a lot of motion being run um, in year one with Hackett. A lot of install, and obviously the injured Aaron Rodgers didn't help with that kind of gradual progression you would have to what would look like an NFL offense at some point. Um, but a lot of motion. It's it's having players that can do different things is going to be a key to that because a lot of times you watch a player move in motion. It's sometimes like a fake motion type of thing. Like you're just like kind of eyeballing that player. Okay, he's gonna kind of work his way across the formation, and that's really it. But when you have a player that can actually kind of stand back, maybe like moving Corley into motion, put him in the backfield, having him be able to kind of work out of that backfield. If he has to stop there, I mean, defense are going to be on alert at all times. And the Jets have not had an offense that you can really legitimately say defense coordinators are going to have trouble sleeping at night. This could be actually the first time that we can see that. And additionally, another player I want to kind of shout out a little bit here is Quantez Stiggers. He's a player that Jets drafted late in the draft. There was a lot of emotion when he was drafted, and when you watch his film, and there's not much out there because he was that playing with some Canadian Football League type of thing. Um, but when you do see like any highlights of him while he was playing, you kind of see that he has a knack for getting his head around the football. And could it be the level of play he was playing at? Potentially. But during the early parts of training camp, you've seen a few instances where that ability to find the football, that ball hawk mentality, has kind of followed him to the NFL. It's early part of training camp. We're not, you know, obviously projecting his career, but it really does appear that there's a legitimate shot that this guy's could be your secondary cornerback down the road. If the Jets aren't able to come sort of some sort of contract agreement with DJ Reed heading into next season, I think the Jets are really hoping that they can have this like pipeline kind of start working its way through, and Quantez Stiggers kind of pops in as that guy that if he kind of shows that progress and kind of shows that he can be on an island or he can be on the outside covering players and stick with the ball and actually make some defensive plays and get some interceptions. Which not saying DJ Reed hasn't been able to do that, but the Jets have had some issues getting turnovers the last couple of years. If he's a player that can do that, the Jets would be more than happy to kind of take that next step and allow DJ Reed to go seek what will be a massive contract extension or contract um, with another team, while also working on applying their resources towards guys like Michael Carter II, Sauce Gardner down the road, and obviously everyone else that we are fully aware of that are due for contract extension at some point here in the next couple of years. Continuing forward, I think that this Aaron Rodgers to Garrett Wilson thing looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. We saw it last season. Aaron Rodgers absolutely is obsessed with the player that Garrett Wilson is, obsessed with his talent, his skill, his ability to make plays, his absolute quickness, his elite speed. It's all these different factors are the reason the Jets picked him 10th overall. Was a big factor as to why he was one of my favorite receivers coming out of that draft a couple of years ago. Um, was his just game breaking ability, and we haven't even seen it yet. We saw one drive of Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson together, and it ended in a touchdown in a preseason game. Obviously, haven't seen it in the regular season. That's obviously the whole reason that we're here is to see what this story is and what the story can eventually tell. But Aaron Rodgers to Garrett Wilson is continuing where it left off last offseason. It's exactly what we saw. it's continuing. It's actually reached another level because Garrett Wilson is just continuing to develop. He's he looks quicker. He looks. I mean, I know he changed his jersey number, but that jersey number he has now makes him look faster. I don't know if it's just my eyes, just kind of being excited about it, but the sky's the limit here with Garrett Wilson. He's put up 1,000-yard seasons with Zach Wilson as his quarterback the first 2 seasons in his career, and we were all looking forward to what he can be. There were some outlets out there saying that he's a dark horse for Offensive Player of the Year last year, and I truly do think that's a possibility. It's a lofty possibility, one that you know obviously all of us as Jeff fans would be absolutely thrilled with, but um, and sometimes it's hot takes making those comments here, but um, watch out if this is if this legitimately turns into what we all kind of envision, Garrett Wilson kind of taking that next step in year three, and then in addition to that, having a quarterback of Aaron Rodgers' caliber. I mean, the sky truly is the limit for what he's able to do. The last thing I'm going to talk about here, and I think it's no surprise. I mean, I guess the only surprise I would say is that defensive line looks like a problem right now, and they still don't even have Hasaan Reddick in uniform yet. Um, I think we all understand the bread and butter of this team and what it's going to stand behind. It's going to stand behind a strong defensive line that's going to get to the quarterback, that's going to cause pressure, and with hopefully having leads late in games, result in some game closing interception type of plays with the amount of pressure that's going to be coming up the middle and through the sides. Um, but you're seeing pretty early on, Jermaine Johnson looks, just as good as he did last year. You know, expecting another step forward from him, in his game. In addition to that, Quinton Williams still an elite interior defensive lineman, but the Jets have brought in a few other players here. Javon Kinlaw, who's gained a lot of muscle. I think he mentioned that he gained like 25, 30 pounds of muscle in the offseason. Those numbers sound um, pretty impressive. I don't know how realistic that sounds, just from my eyes, but shit, I mean, I'm no professional nutritionist. I have no idea, you know, what it is, but he's saying that he did it. He must have had some sort of, you know, reasoning behind believing that he's reached that goal that he set himself out for. Um, and he's he had a recent interview, just a press conference, we get a little bit emotional on that, but he seemed to have a lot of self-awareness in the fact that he, struggled when he was getting double teamed. He felt like he was getting pushed back way too much, and the only way for him to kind of push his career forward was to gain that weight and gain that muscle and gain that strength. Um, and Salah mentioned it in a press conference earlier today that although he has gained that weight, there's a line between gaining weight and losing speed, and he hasn't lost that speed. So if all that's true, you're getting a stronger version of Javon Kinlaw. We still haven't seen his fullest potential. Battled through a few injuries the past few years, which is kind of the name of the story for the Jets this season. Having a few players that they've acquired that are coming off injuries or have come off a few seasons of missing some time. Javon Kinlaw is one of those guys, and another guy who seems to be kind of showing you know some progress and probably kind of penciled down here as like a guy that's really battling for one of those 9 or 10 defensive line spots, is Tack McKinley, a guy who, I saw the Jets picked up, didn't really identify this guy as a guy who was going to make the roster. There's always those veteran acquisitions that, you bring in for camp and for whatever reason, it just doesn't work out. But he looks like a guy that this is going to work out for. He's consistently applying pressure off the edge. Um, and we all understand the Jets do need, as many bodies as possible off the edge. Michael Clemens, um, you know, for having a promising rookie year when his first year here, wasn't as great his second season. Still, you know, still a guy that you trust in the run game to try and you know strengthen. And but he's with the loss of JFM, you're really looking for who's going to be that next guy up, to kind of step in and be that primary edge rusher, especially on rundowns. But at least on passing situations, Tack Kinley seems like he's able to get around the edge and get to the quarterback. So something that you know we really needed to see is like who's going to fill in those couple of spots with Bryce gone and Michael Clemens, not sorry, Michael Clemens, Bryce and JFM gone. Well, it looks like we got the Bryce replacement in Hasaan Reddick, assuming he eventually shows up and signs his contract. Um, then maybe Zach McKinley comes in as another body off the edge. And this team just looks like they're ready to roll. Um, it's just a matter of getting these few things ironed out. The Hassan Reddick contract extension, um, Tippman figuring out what the heck he's got to do with these snaps, trying to figure that out. I'm fully expecting to see some sort of kind of stability, some sort of you know just cleaning this thing up as we go into this next wave of this train camp. Um, but I mean, again, we're still only in the end of July. There's still a whole um, month plus to get ready for the regular season. Plenty of time to correct these issues, but I'd say for the most part, there's a lot more positivity than negativity going into into the second week of training camp. If you haven't already, really appreciate it. If you like and subscribe to my channel, it's how I grow. And most importantly, let's go Jets.